Welcome back to Close Up. The contenders continue to emerge in the 1st Congressional District. This morning, we're joined by one of the candidates seeking the Democratic nomination in CD1, Christian Urrutia. Christian, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me here today. It's great to be with you, Adam.
So, this is your first time running for statewide office, so tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're running for Congress.
Yeah, so look, I'm a New Hampshire native. I grew up over in Hudson. I'm the first of my family born in the United States. And I say that with pride because I think that embodies the American dream. I took my first job at Market Basket, working for $5 an hour. By the way, that minimum wage has only gone up $2. That's a problem we have to tackle. And then I got a chance to go to college. Went to the University of Iowa, knocked doors against the Iraq War, substitute taught to make my way through college, and then I got a chance to go to law school. Got a law degree, and then practiced law at the Hillsborough County Attorney's Office, and then went off to practice international law and human rights, and took on war criminals, and really was ultimately such a great education for me as a person. But in the middle of all that, I decided to put it all on pause at 35 and said, I'm going to join the military. I want to serve my country. So I enlisted in the Army. I went to officer candidate school. They asked me, what do you want to do after officer candidate school? Got my commission. I said, I want to be a defender for soldiers. And that's what I do here in New Hampshire. I am incredibly privileged to do that. And then in 2020, the president asked me, Biden, would I take an appointment at the Pentagon? And I was privileged to get that appointment. I went to the Pentagon. I worked in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, taking on our hardest national security challenges. But most importantly, out of all of that, I'm married to an incredible person, Jen, small business owner, and just consider myself really lucky. In terms of why I'm in this race, I think there are really two reasons. One, we have to fight a lot harder against the Trump administration. They are gutting programs people need. They are waging war against everyday people. They've just kicked 17 million people off health care. That's a huge problem. The Democrats need to fight a lot harder. But also, we have to be clear-eyed. We have an affordability crisis in this country. And that story, yeah, it is about the Republicans, but it's also about the Democrats. We've known that this has been a problem for a really long time, and that's why I've made it the center of my campaign. I'm the first candidate to come out of the gate and say, we have a healthcare crisis, we need Medicare for all. I'm the first candidate to say, we need to center our campaign and our policies on creating affordable housing. I've laid out a plan on how to do that. We need a national infrastructure bank to actually invest in housing in America, to make it available to first-time families that are buying and to other people that need a place to live at an affordable price. We need a living wage. I am unequivocal about it. I'm the first candidate to do that right out of the gate. I'm going to continue to talk about this. This is the center of my campaign. And if I have the privilege of representing the 1st Congressional District, every day in Washington, I'm going to fight for that.
Let's dig in on some of those issues. Medicare for all, the price tag is somewhere between $20 and $40 trillion over a decade. That's more money than you would just get from, taxing billionaires more. So how do you pay for it?
Yeah, so I respectfully, I think that's a bit of the wrong frame. The question is, how is our current system so unsustainably expensive? Per capita, we spend twice as much as any other country on healthcare. And our outcomes? Worse. If you get cancer, God forbid, Adam, you get cancer, 47% chance that in 2 years, you've used all the money you've saved up your whole life. 25% chance you're going to go bankrupt. And it's because we have a broken system. We don't allow, for example, the aggressive negotiation of drug prices. Pharma has control over Washington. When you actually look at Medicare for all, and you look at the efficiencies you would get when you allow Medicare to negotiate, when you have more administrative efficiencies, you actually see per year you'd spend about $3.8 trillion. Right now we spend about $4.5 to $4.7 trillion a year. There are actually efficiency gains. But most importantly, everyone in this country deserves medical coverage. We're the richest country in the world. We can do it. We just have to have the political courage to fight for it.
So it's a good policy idea, but again, how do you pay for it? Who's going to pay?
Yeah, I think there's you take all the money that's being spent on deductibles, on co-pays, you actually put it towards Medicare for All. Because right now, people are spending a lot of money on their medical coverage. You start consolidating that. You allow for efficiency in negotiating for drug prices. Yes, you do also raise taxes on the wealthiest, the billionaires in our country. You cut loopholes in the tax system, but you make it a priority. I am confident over enough time, we can make this a more cost-efficient system.
You talked about how, the Republicans to blame, Democrats to blame as well. Democrats have seen an erosion of their working class base. You've talked about some of the issues. Why do you think so many working class voters are turning away from Democrats, and what can you do to bring them back?
It's because I think we haven't been putting this at the center of our party every day. We haven't been driving solutions and then fighting for those solutions. Look, I talked about the living wage and the minimum wage. It hasn't gone up since 2009. The Democrats have had power since 2009 too. We could have made changes. We haven't made that a priority. We have to do it. And the middle of this country, working folks, they see that we haven't fought hard enough. We need to make fundamental changes. It is at the center of what I'll fight for. And look, the Republicans, they certainly aren't going to fight for it. The Democrats need to stand up. We need to be a lot tougher on this issue.
You mentioned, having power in Washington right now. Republicans are arguably in power because during the Biden administration, there just wasn't enough of a robust policy at the southern border in terms of the mass of humanity coming across that border. What kind of border policy would you support in Congress?
Yeah, look, we have to have, I'm the child of immigrants, first of all, okay? I've seen my parents live the immigrant experience firsthand. We need to have an orderly immigration process in this country. We need to have a secure border. And I think the Democrats need to be comfortable with that. We also need to be comfortable with people that are committing violent crimes, that are here undocumented status, under due process, a procedure to get them out of the country. I think that is perfectly fine. But at the same time, we have to be clear-eyed. What this administration is doing, it is violating due process. It is cruel. It is unusual way to go about doing this. The Democrats need to stand on the side of the Constitution and on due process. We have to be unequivocal. And I believe those two things, they can coexist, and they should.
If Democrats in 2028 make a big push to abolish ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and you're in Congress, are you on board with that?
I don't think abolishing ICE is the right thing. I think it is radically reforming ICE. Look, we need to have an orderly immigration process. We need to be able to enforce the laws in this country. The way ICE is operating right now under the Trump administration is abhorrent. I'll be the first to say it. We need radical reform there. We need to push for it. We have to have a system where the Constitution isn't a list of suggestions. It is the law of the land. Right now, that is under assault. We can do better.
Let's go abroad for a bit here. Do you believe Israel is committing genocide in Gaza?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to get into this question of characterizing it as genocide or not genocide. What I'm seeing, though, in Gaza right now is heartbreaking. There are people starving to death. There are people being shot trying to get aid. It is an unsustainable situation. And this administration isn't doing anything to fight for human rights. I've devoted big parts of my life to human rights. It is critical to me, and I consider this an American value. In the military, we talk about human rights. When I took on war criminals, of course I was talking about human rights and fighting for it. What we need in Gaza right now, aid needs to flow in. People need to stop being killed trying to get aid. There needs to be a ceasefire. We need to find a pathway to a two-state solution. That is the only way we will get to stability and prosperity for both Israelis and Palestinians in Gaza.
Is Israel still within its rights to defend itself, though? And this is an ongoing response to the October 7th, 2023 attack. Are you saying that they've exceeded essentially?
No, I think we're conflating these two things respectfully, Adam. One, of course, Israel has a right to defend itself as a country. It has a right to go after Hamas, destroy Hamas, Hezbollah, and other threats that it has. And it has very serious threats. I'm very clear-eyed about it. But it also has humanitarian obligations, just as the United States has. If the United States was in the same position, I'd be making exactly the same arguments. If it was France, if it was England, all countries have certain human rights obligations. We should expect that out of our Israeli partners. This administration isn't doing enough. It needs to do a lot more.
Returning to the home front here in CD1, obviously Chris Pappas has been a consistent winner, and if Democrats are going to retain or regain power in Congress, they need another consistent winner to fill in his shoes. In this crowded field of Democrats, what makes you the consistent winner that Democrats need?
Yeah, look, we need change. I think I am the most credible voice for actually having change. People are hungry for change. Washington, broken. It hasn't solved all these enduring problems that we've just listed off over the last 5 minutes. And we've known they've been problems for decades. People are hungry for something different. They're hungry for political courage. They're hungry for someone that's going to tell them exactly what they think. They're not going to dance around the issues. We've been out of the gate. We've laid out exactly what we want to do. The thing where everyone agrees in this country is on how broken Washington is. We need to change.
All right. Christian Urrutia, thank you for joining us on Close Up. We appreciate the time. We'll see you out there on the trail.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. And stay with us. When we come back, Democrats find a candidate to run for mayor of Manchester with just a day to go before the deadline.